Hi everyone! Well, time for a new Mythbuster video, and this is going to be exciting. So, as I promised, we are going to cover the Oligoxystre diamantinensis, also known as the Brazilian Blue Dwarf Beauty. It's a relatively new species that came into the pet trade around 2 years ago. So, like all my traditional Mythbuster videos, I have my marker board this time, and I chose the colors on this time here because that kind of reflects all the colors of the specimen. Blue, green, and red. A very interesting combination to have on a tarantula. So I'll start off with the common name. This is what it's called, the Brazilian Blue Dwarf Beauty. And the scientific name is called the Oligoxystre diamantinensis. And this is how we pronounce it. Oligoxystre diamantinensis. So it's a pretty mouthful name to pronounce, and it is kind of tongue twister, but it's actually not bad once you break it down. So now we're going to have a look at my specimen, then we'll talk about how much they cost, the growth rate, sizes, and the lifespan of them, the care sheet, the humidity and temperature, how to set up the enclosure, their temperament, their breeding, and my personal recommendations. Are they worth having? So let's go have an overall look of my Ocean, who is my 2-inch female. See what the species has to offer. Well, I can say one thing, it is certainly a very remarkable and beautiful tea to look at. You can't go wrong. It has bluish legs all over her body, greenish carapace, as well as their abdomen. Let me just zoom in and put this on macro so you can see. Sort of like a bluish purple abdomen, but it's accented by orange reddish hairs. Now you have to say to yourself, doesn't it remind you of 1T? Actually, yeah, it does. I call them mini GBBs, and this is my GBB. I'm fortunate to have a female to show you. It's got very similar colorations. It's got the blue legs, it's got the green carapace, but the abdomen is probably different. It's got much more orange hairs than the Blue Dwarf Beauty. Very cool, very heavy Weber. So now Ocean, as the name, as my specimen's called, we know the common name of it, so this says a lot about the species. Well, Brazilian species, as you know, come from the New World, so you can expect them to have eradicating hair. Temperaments will vary between individuals, but I'm going to say that much more later on in the video. And their venom is not that potent, so I'll explain that once I get to it. Now, where can you buy these specimens? Well, unfortunately, you won't be able to find them in pet stores, so you're going to have to resort to finding them online. Now, there's a lot of places to go to online. I'm going to be linking all these dealers on the video description, so you just have to click them. So if you're in Canada like I am, Tarantula Canada, Martin and Amanda is the way to go. 95% of my tarantulas come from there. Awesome people to deal with. If you're also in Canada, another dealer that's pretty big is arachnophiliacs.com. Bruce Carr, who's selling a 2.5-inch confirmed female for $150. Let's see. Then if you're in US, which is pretty much most of the viewers who are watching this video now, I could recommend kenthebugguy.com, swissinverts.com, jamie'starantulas.com, netbug.net, as well as the Arachnoboards forum. All you have to do is sign up and go to the for sale or trade section and see what comes up. Usually you have pretty good stock there, and that's where I got my specimen from. I got Ocean from Abarax Complex, a arachnoboard user from Canada, and he was selling them for $60 because he needed to trim down his collection. And it was pretty good because at the time, Tarantula Canada was selling those for $125 as a 1/2 inch. And I got one for almost double the size and half the price. And I decided to risk myself to buy one because I didn't know if it was a female or a male. It was sold as unsexed. And when I got her, sure enough, I saw the epigastric furrow and I said, yes, it's a female. So I was very happy to have one of these specimens, especially owning as a female for the first time. So that's where I got mine. Then if you're in UK, you want to check out the virginiacheeseman.co.uk or thespidershop.co.uk. Seems to be the most popular ones. And if you're in Europe, I recommend buying from Michael Scheller from Germany. I'll put his video description in there. Very nice guy to talk to. I talked to him personally. Okay, so that pretty much is it about the cost. It generally runs from at least 60 to 150. Anything over is a bit too expensive. But hey, if you can get cheap, all the more reason to buy one. Okay, now for the growth rate and the size. Well, let's talk about the size first. This is almost a full-grown specimen, subadult female. So since these are dwarfs, they're not going to get very big. Maximum size they're probably going to get is around 2.5 inch leg span to about 3 inches. But it's very rare that you're going to see an over 3 inch specimen. So it's unlike a GBB that gets almost triple the size of one. Now the growth rate, I really can't tell you much about the growth rate because this is the very first O.diamantinensis that I owned, not as a 1/2 inch. So I could probably safely assume that they're probably going to be as fast as the Sericosma species. Sericosma species are probably about medium to fast growth rates, so they can mature pretty quickly. A male could probably mature as little as 2 years, and for a female, you're looking at maybe 3 or 4 minimum, or maximum, I would say. Now, lifespans. Lifespans is another gray area for me because this is not a species that is well documented. But I would assume for females, they'll probably live around 10 to 15. And for males, I would say around 2 to 4, depending on how often you feed them. Because if you feed them more often, they'll tend to grow much more faster. Now, for the males and females, what they look like, well, this is what a female looks like. And a mature male, especially mature, is going to be way smaller than her. He's probably going to have about 1.5 inches the leg span. Very similar to a mature female C. elegans. You can see how small those are. They will sport tibial hooks on their first pair of legs, as well as bulbous pedipalps. Now for breeding the species, again, it's another gray area. I don't think too many people breed them, but I'm sure my European subscribers will chime in, because I'm pretty sure that they bred these species a lot. I would say they're pretty easy to breed. Keep the female well fed and make sure, make sure he leaves before she attacks. Generally, mating should be easy and simple. And I think for slings, they should get around like 100 to 200 in an egg sac, a typical one. And I think babies this small will probably be around 1/8 of an inch to about 1/6 of an inch. So very, very tiny. So now for the enclosure setup, what do you need to house a O.diamantinensis very happy? Well, you can use what I use right here. This is a 16-ounce deli container, or you can go to your local dollar store and you can buy these enclosures for about $1 or $2. These are the pet bug ones. So it houses so far my Pseudohaplopa species long-haired. So substrates, since these are terrestrials and they do have a tendency to burrow, so you want to give them somewhat of a deep substrate. You can either use eco-earth that comes in a brick, or the inorganic potting soil. What inorganic potting soil means is just no great fertilizer. I personally recommend the eco-earth better, because for the price you pay for the bag of potting soil, you're going to get 3 times as much of eco-earth in there, so you'll be able to use more substrate for your teas. Yeah, and also you could add as a little cave for them. It's totally optional. This species does web, almost as heavily as a GBB, but I guess not too much as her. She's overboard. Alright, now for the care sheet of the species. What conditions do you need to meet to keep this one happy? Well, O.diamantinensis are very easy to take care of, and they're very similar to the Sericosmus species that I did back in Mythbuster video 36. They generally have the same care sheet because they come from the same locality. Now, unlike a GBB, they do require slightly more humidity than most. So for humidity, I just make sure to keep the substrate semi-moist. So what I do is I just put warm water and just soak the substrate a bit, so that way I can get all the droplets down on the bottom, so that way it provides and retains much more humidity than just spraying the enclosure. This is a species where I don't add a water dish to her, just because of her size. You can see it's a very, very small tarantula. But if you do want to add a water dish, make sure it's like really small and shallow so that the tarantula can get out. Water dishes such as like this orange juice bottle cap are not recommended for the O.diamantinensis because you can see it's pretty deep and tarantulas have a tendency to drown as slings or small juveniles or small adults, so I don't recommend them. For temperature, room temperature is pretty sufficient. That's between 73 and 80. I keep my room around 78 at nighttime and at 80 to 82 degrees in the daytime. Now, this is a very recurring question, how I heat my tarantulas. I don't use heat mats at all. This is because I use utilitarian housings. And since my room is upstairs and we do have central air and central heat, most of the warm air comes up here anyway. So what I use here is this $30 home ceramic heater, 1500 watts, and it does heat up the room really quickly. So I don't really usually have this on if the heater is going. So if I were to put it on, it's mainly when I'm in the room, and I would say 10 minutes for every 1 or 2 hours, and then I shut it off. And the room gets pretty warm in here, as well as humid too with my humidifier. Okay, and then temperament. Yes, temperament. That's which pretty much everyone wants to know about this species. I've actually handled this species, believe it or not, and these are certainly not aggressive tarantulas at all. Nothing like my evil P. cancerides or my S. calceatum. And it's not going to threat pose like your Lasiodora or your Nandu species. Even though that it's not aggressive, it's very nervous and it's very fast too. So for this reason, I don't recommend handling them, just because they can bolt, and if a tarantula falls, it may actually sustain fatal injuries. So it's not recommended that you try to handle an O.diamantinensis. Now for my personal recommendations. Is this tea worth buying or not? Oh yes, definitely worth buying. Especially for a blue tea, and blue happens to be my favorite color in tarantulas, as well as green. Can't beat a miniature GBB, that's for sure. Very easy to take care of, not very aggressive at all, but it is certainly very skittish. So for this reason, I don't recommend it for a first-time owner, but for a person who's in the intermediate range that kept like 2 or 3 teas and want to try something a little bit more speedy, but doesn't want to sacrifice the defensive nature of teas, I certainly would recommend this species along with a green bottle blue. Very nice species. I love it. Alright everyone, so I do hope you enjoyed this video. So we just did a Mythbuster video on the Oligoxystre diamantinensis, what I know about it. Brazilian Dwarf Beauty. And for the next Mythbuster video, I am probably going to be doing it on the Dolichothele species. Namely, I'll be talking more about the Incy, the Trinidad olive, and in my opinion, is one of the best communal species out there in the hobby. So thanks for watching, everyone, and hope you like it.